First thing would be don't wait till tomorrow, start today. And stop letting whatever fear it is, whatever it is, hold you back. And it's okay to ask for help. That's something that I've had to learn recently. I don't ask anybody for anything. And starting this business, I've had to ask people for help. Don't let the fear hold you back. And you're not a failure if you ask somebody for help. It's okay.
Hello and welcome to the Stroke It podcast. I'm Jenny Townsend, your host. Thank you for joining me. I'm so excited for you to be inspired to live your life fully, to take ownership of your time, your schedule, and your life, but most importantly, learn and grow and develop personally and professionally. Myself and others are going to share life lessons that we've learned through leadership, through heartache, through pain, through struggles, and we'll be sharing some success stories with you as well. Super eager for you to dive in, learn, and grow. And once again, just take ownership of your life today. Hello, and welcome to the podcast. Jenny Townsend, your host. I'm just so excited about today's conversation. I'm hopping from one podcast to another. I was just on a podcast with my guest, Kendra Mack, and she was talking about confidence. And Dr. Tim Newman is going to be talking about confidence. He has a podcast called Speaking with Confidence. But before I introduce him, I'm going to tell you a little bit about this gentleman. He is a communication coach, podcast host, and recovering college professor with over 20 years of experience helping people become powerful communicators. He has also helped speakers, or whether he's coaching, speaking, or podcasting, he's growing the amateur golf community. Tim's mission is the same, helping people connect and communicate with confidence, clarity, and impact. And I'm super excited to talk to you today because I own a child-based business, so I'm always needing help with communicating. I'm always working with kids. I saw some of your examples. I have a lot of young kids on my team. We do an apprenticeship program. So they start working with us at 14 years of age and they go up as well. I just started playing golf. And so I'm super excited. Tim, welcome to the show.
Jenny, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be on your podcast. First off, I love the name of it. First thing that hits me is the Billy Squier song and the Clarence Carter song. And I'm beep-bopping to both of them throughout my head. So I'm really excited to talk to you today.
Well, awesome. So my book launched April 12th of 2024, which was at the same time as the Masters. So all of my promos for the book were all about strokes. So I totally played into the golf theme. So I actually went to my country club and instead of balls on the course, I put lemons with the golf club. One of our promos was, for sure, this is the best purchase of the year. So it's so cool that I'm talking with you and you're such a golf fan. So I told him a little bit about you, but I love for our guests to really kind of share a little bit more insight of things that maybe aren't in the bio. So what season of life are you in? Where do you live? And how did you get into the work that you're doing with us today?
That's such a good question. I ask myself that same question every day. I would say I'm somewhere between spring and summer. I've got my favorite thing about my life right now is I've got 3 grandchildren and they are just, there's nothing better than being a father, people think, or a parent. The only thing that's better than that is being a grandparent. And I literally just got back a couple of days ago from spending some time with them. If I don't see them, I get the itch. And I hadn't seen them for about a month or so. And I just told my wife, I said, I got to go. You come if you want, don't come. I'm going. And I went up and spent about 2 weeks with them. Being a grandparent is so much different than being a parent. You just have fun with them. You give them candy, you give them donuts, you give them all the stuff that parents don't give them. I can see my daughter looking at me. I said, it's too bad. It's fun. Pops is here and we're going to have a good time. But from a personal side, that's where I'm at. From a professional perspective, I am a recovering college professor. Last semester was my last semester. And Jenny, let me tell you what, I've had more fun and I feel so much more fulfilled over the last 2 months than I did probably in my last 5 years of my career.
Wow. Well, congratulations and cheers to you. And it's so cool when you get to do something that you love, that's fulfilling, and that's what you want to do.
Exactly.
I mean, you're calling all the shots, you're doing all the work, and you're having fun while doing it. And, sometimes we kind of get burnout from those jobs we've been doing for a really long time. So
absolutely.
What inspired you to start podcasting, or, whether it's the golf one or the confidence one?
So the Golf Week Amateur Tour podcast I started first, and that really kind of came from I was working so much that all the fun in my life was gone. There was no fun. We were coming out of COVID, and when COVID hit, there really was no time limit on getting stuff done because you're just sitting in front of your computer. So what do? You just sit in front of your computer and you work and you work and you work. And my friend actually owns the company. And I said, can I start a podcast? I just did it. And he said, sure. He didn't really know what to expect. And that really took off. And I enjoyed it because I was talking to our members, all over the country. We've got 48 markets across the country. So I'm talking to people that I wouldn't normally get a chance to talking about the tour, talking about golf. And as I started to make plans for this transition, there were some other things going on in my life, and I knew that I couldn't keep teaching because of those other things. Not necessarily because I didn't want to, but it was because of other things that I wasn't going to be able to. And I saw podcasting as an avenue to be able to help people, and coaching as a way to help people and continue teaching and being me, because that's what I see myself as somebody that helps people become better people and better communicators. And I think that's something that we need as a society.
Yeah, 100%. So do you actually play golf?
You know what? Again, that comes back to, I haven't played golf in 5 years. I used to play all the time, but because of work and some other things, I don't have the time. And I look at it like this. Number one, I can't justify the time to do that. I would rather spend time with my wife and my kids, my grandkids, to play golf the way that I know I can play golf because I've done it. It just takes too much time. And I'm not interested in going out there and being frustrated and aggravated. I'd rather spend that time with family and friends.
Yeah. Well, you can always do 9 holes. 9 holes
Nope.
gets you out on the course. No?
Nope. Because to me, it's still, I would still have to practice, because I would spend a lot of time practicing.
Yeah.
And so let's put kind of perspective. The last time I played, I was a 4 handicap, and that took a lot of work. I am not going to go out and shoot 100.
Yeah. You're not in it for that.
There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying anything, but for me, yeah, I'd have fun, playing golf with friends and that sort of thing. But, we can also have fun doing other things,
Yeah, for sure.
having coffee, talking, whatever it is.
Spending some quality time together. Yeah.
Exactly.
I just got into golf, probably about like a year or two. On Sundays we started watching it, and the guys are just so young and they're so cool, and I started watching swing, and I love watching their journeys and seeing their families. And I just told my husband, I was like, I really want to go to a tournament. We live in Florida, so there's lots of tournaments in Florida that we can go to.
Well, you know what, so the RBC Heritage is the week after Masters, and through some of the connections with Golf Week Amateur Tour, I'm given hospitality tickets, and I generally go on Sunday, and it's right at the 18th green in those stands right at the 18th green. And the very first time I went, my wife and I said, well, we'll go walk around, we'll watch everything. But Harbor Town's right down the road, so we've been there a lot. We've played the course. It's no big deal. But when we got there, the first golfers hadn't come through yet. I said, no, we're not going anywhere. If we just stay here, we'll be able to see every golfer come through. We see every golfer hit into the green, make their putts, and then go on. And that's what we did. And that's what we like to do on Sunday, just go and sit and hang out with the people in the hospitality tents and just watch every golfer come through. It's phenomenal. Those players are so good.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds like tons of fun. If I'm ever up in your neck of the woods and it's golf season, I'm calling you. Okay, Tim?
Come on in.
So, all right, well, let's get right into talking about employee, employer, and spouse. Since we're both married, I'm really looking forward to having that conversation with you. So let's talk a little bit about your perspective when it talks about young professional and how critical it is for them to learn effective ways of communicating thoughts and ideas. The reason I'm so interested in this is that I manage a team of 32, and we have an apprenticeship program, individuals that work for us, young adults, and then kids as well.
Right.
And then I have another person that I know that just started working in corporate, and they just don't understand etiquette. They don't understand approaching different people within the organization, and they don't listen. They don't know how to communicate. And so I definitely want you to share some perspective and give us the examples that you had mentioned and help us all become better communicators.
Yeah, it's so hard. Right before COVID hit, I realized that I was old, because I'd always thought I was young and related to them very well. And then I started to realize most of the people that I was teaching weren't alive when 9/11 happened. And how we communicate now is really even different than how we communicated 10 years ago. When we look at how social media has exploded just in the last 10 years with TikTok and, even Facebook is different now than it was 10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah, we all just communicate in emojis now.
Yeah, exactly. And this is just my face. I don't even understand. You've got to give me some words, And when we came out of COVID, it really hit me that their communication skills they were just so bad. And I look at it from the standpoint of, I don't care what you know or how smart you are. If you can't communicate with people, you're not going to be successful. You have to be able to be able to share your thoughts. You have to be able to share your ideas, your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings. And we're not just talking on a professional level. We're also talking on a personal level as well, because how you talk professionally is probably how you're going to talk personally.
Yeah, for sure. I know that I had a bad habit of saying some bad words a couple of years ago, and I would say it in my personal settings before I knew what I was saying in professional settings. I was like, oh, I can't say those words.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's break down how you are helping people that are unable to communicate. And I know that you had indicated a couple examples, and one was a kid that you said gave a presentation, and you wanted to give him advice. He was like, no, I'm fine. So let's talk about that. How maybe they're not receptive or open to that.
Yeah, I think so. You're working with kids or younger people. And what I found is, I think that they are so much smarter than they were 20 years ago. They're so much more entrepreneurial than they were 20 years ago. Again, it just comes down to they don't know how to take that next step and be able to transform that into a business or information or any type of communication skills. And so when I was teaching, they're giving presentations. They're staying up there talking and giving presentations. And I had this one student who, he did pretty well. I mean, for his age, and he hit a lot of the good pieces, but he could have done a couple things better. And I pulled him aside after class and said, look, you're probably one of the best presenters in the class. Would you like some ideas and some tips on how you can get better? And he told me, no, I'm good at it's got me this far. I'm good enough. And I tried to explain to him, I said, okay, that's great. But if you want to take these types of things to the next level, if you want to actually be a leader, if you want to do really good things, you're going to have to get better. He said, no, Dr. Newman, I'm not interested in doing that right now. And it crushed me, because I'm the person, I need to do better or something. Tell me how to tell me. And we're going down that road. And I don't understand the mentality of, you know that you need to get better at something and you're not working at it. But that's kind of pervasive, I think. And I think we, as the older generations, have to find a way to meet these younger generations at a place and convince them or teach them how to want to get better. I was listening to one of your podcasts. I cannot remember his name, but it was about reading and leadership. And
Was it Brian? He's a speaking coach, and he was a teacher too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he talked about the importance of reading, which I was going, yeah, he's got it. A few weeks ago, I saw a post on LinkedIn where a bunch of college professors were complaining that kids don't read. And I got instantly infuriated. Okay, so what are you doing to help them read? What are you doing them to convince them that it's so important to read, as opposed to just complaining about it? And that's where I'm at. If I see a problem, I'm going to try and find a way to help them. I think it's our responsibility as professionals to meet them where they're at, not for them to just meet us. And I think that's a mind shift that everybody has to make, from us as professionals and them as younger professionals, to meet us somewhere and work on things. I'm not asking you to come all the way, but you also have to take some steps forward to get better as well.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of a challenge. So, and when I say it's a challenge, I think it's a challenge because some young individuals aren't there yet. They're not at the mature level. They don't understand how we're going to impact their future and how we're wanting to mentor them and guide them and coach them. So I think they just lack drive or initiative. And then I think we've all been there where we think we know everything at that age, and you're old, so you know nothing, even though we have so much wisdom to share.
Right.
I think that's where the struggle is number one, how do you inspire them to want to grow? And how do you get to them where they do understand the value of the wisdom? And I understand like meeting them where they are. But for me, as an owner, a leader, and a manager, that can be really exhausting if they don't already have that initial fight. So I feel like that goes back to them having responsibility, maybe the household they're growing up in. Have they had to be independent? Have they had to speak? Have they had to place their own order at a restaurant? What is that household environment? I feel personally that parents overshadow and do a lot of the talking for the kids today, or they don't allow them to be independent, have a voice. And so I feel like that's kind of where some of the challenges come into play, but you may have
It
different
no,
opinions.
no, Jenny, you're right on. And here's an example. My wife, she's a retired educator as well. And our kids are now older. Obviously, we got grandkids. So I did that again. We got grandkids. I'm grandfather. So when they started off at school, I told them, I said, if you have a problem with your teacher, you need to go talk to your teacher. Don't come to me and ask me to go talk to the teacher because I'm not going to do it. My wife was like, "Oh my gosh, we can't do this to them." I said, "No, they've got, number one, they have to learn to number one, advocate for themselves. It's their education. Number two, they've got to learn how to talk to different people at different stages in their life." And I told him, I said, if you don't get the result that you want, then come and talk to me, and we'll have another conversation. And I'm not saying that the teacher gives in to you. You don't not give. You get your way. You're being treated unfairly for me to go in and do this. And what I found with that is that my kids, and I'm very lucky, very blessed. They also grew up on college campuses, so they saw this in action. They saw how I interact with my students and that sort of thing, and that has given them that opportunity. They're very comfortable talking. They're very comfortable communicating with different people at different levels, in a variety of situations. And I'm not saying everybody should do it my way, but I think as a society, we've failed them. From the educational system, we've failed them. If if we don't if we don't correct course, or if we don't start giving them those skills, what's going to happen, in 20 or 30 years when those students are now my age? How are they going to be able to lead and train people and help society?
Yeah. So what's interesting that we're talking about this, I was talking about this on another podcast yesterday, which started out as like a CEO leadership podcast. I don't know how it like went into this conversation, but I do believe that there's so much shielding the kids or not getting them out. And if they say they don't want to do something, it's like, oh, okay, you don't have to do it. And so I grew up, my childhood was 4-H, team sports. My parents were entrepreneurs, so we were always going to work. My parents were always putting us to work with their employees. And so we had to learn to speak with other adults, and we had to learn to take direction. We had to learn to give direction. And my parents, we went to a private Catholic school. We went to summer camps. We were constantly put in activities. And my mom was basically a stay-at-home mom. I mean, she worked with my dad in the business, and she had to take care of us. But even though we had the luxury of staying home every week during summer with her, she did not allow that. We had to go to camp. And what happened is we were in new situations every single week with completely new people, and we had to learn to make friends. We had to learn to communicate. We had to find a common ground or a shared interest. And that is really what helps with our confidence. No matter where I go, I can always meet someone. I've never met a stranger in my life because of that. And I think some parents, because they have the luxury of keeping the kids home all summer and because they want to spend time with them, it's almost a disservice to their kids. And they're like, well, she said she doesn't want to go to that. First of all, you are the parent.
Exactly. I didn't ask her if she wanted. I mean, just you're going.
I think that's the thing is like kids have so much authority today. And, like I said, I own child-based business. So it's like a parent will cancel a lesson and then we'll give them 3 other options to reschedule it. And they're like, I got to check with Tommy or Sarah and see if that'll work for her. I'm like, she's 8 years old.
8 years old.
Aren't you driving her to the lesson?
You know what her schedule is. I mean, because she's 8. Exactly, right?
So I think that's kind of impacting the future and the way that the kids communicate as well. And I think, the children just don't have much of a voice. They don't know how to use that voice. And I think that's kind of impacting why they're not communicating. Now, I have a couple of teenagers that work for me, and they're phenomenal. I mean, there was a point in time where I was really worried about the future generations. These kids today that are 14, 15, 16, 18 are phenomenal. They have drive. They know how to communicate. They come to me at 14 years old asking for a job, and they don't care what they're doing. They just want to have a job and be part of the community. And they're learning some amazing skill sets. And I think too, that's another thing where some of them aren't required to have jobs because the parents, have the luxury of being able to drive them all over. They don't even necessarily even have to give a driver's license at this age anymore. At 16, kids are not rushing to get a driver's license. They're waiting till like 18, 19.
I don't get that.
I mean, I can't understand it, but the parents are like, cool, I'll drive them around. I'll do that. So, I mean, I think that there's got to be a major shift with the parents, and the parents that I'm talking about are mainly in my age bracket. I would say between 35 and like 50. And a
Okay.
lot of that I think has to do with our parents maybe didn't have as much, or they didn't have the freedom, or we had to work and we,
Right.
had to have all this responsibility. And I think this philosophy is I don't want my kid to have to do that. So I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
I don't know because I actually had this similar conversation with my oldest daughter. On the one hand, I get it. Things were different when she was a kid. Things were different when I was a kid, and we have to kind of change with some things. What what we also have to understand is, okay, so my oldest granddaughter is 4. What we're doing now when she's 4 is really building on what's going to happen when she's 8. And you have to start building skills. At what point do you want to start building the skills? Do you want to start building the skills when she's 18 or when she's 25? And what's that going to do? Or should we start doing things now? And again, age appropriate, right? We're not talking about going out and interviewing for jobs, but how you act in a restaurant. How do you order food as a 4-year-old? How do you interact with somebody who comes up and introduces himself to your parents? So teaching them these things now, and if they get it now, it's going to be so much easier when they're 8, when they're 15, when they're 20. Build on those skills. I do think in a big sense that you're right, but I don't know how to change it outside of individual. It's because you know how it is. They see one person doing it. Oh, that seems like a good idea, so I should probably do it that way too. No, be you. Remember, take the best of your parents and do those things.
Right, 100%. So when we're talking about employees and we're talking about kids and we're talking about
Right.
just defining and helping people enhance their communication and enhance their confidence, what are like top 3 skills that employers look for, or people that are, or if we want to help them get ready for their future? So talking about the 4-year-old, getting her ready for the 8-year-old life, or taking a 15-year-old and getting them ready to be 20. What are some confidence and communication tips, tools, or must-haves do these individuals need to have to be successful?
First off, they need to be able to have a conversation, an adult conversation where you're looking somebody in the eye. You're having an actual conversation with words, sentences, full words, full sentences, complete thoughts. That's first and foremost. You have to be able to be a critical thinker. You have to be able to think on your feet. If you don't know something, ask questions. And I look at that as the asking question piece as part of being a critical thinker, because if you don't understand something, or if you want to dig deeper on something, the only way to do that is to ask questions. And get 4. Can I get 4?
We want them
Okay.
all. We have
Okay.
parents that are
Okay,
listening
you
to
want
this
them all.
podcast. So let's give them something to think about and things to start working towards and to consider implementing in their parenting in the future.
You have to be able to listen to understand, not listen to talk. And you have to be able to write. And writing for me is, I'm not a very good writer, but you have to be able to write. You have to be able to write in complete thoughts and sentences, not emojis, not text type. With so much communication, professional communication being done by email, you have to be able to communicate, in writing. Let's just put it that way.
So let me ask you this. Are you using ChatGPT to help with creating any of your show notes or emails or anything that you're doing these days?
I do. I very much do. And as you train it, it gets better. But the way I use it is primarily use it as an idea generator. And I type in what I want, or I upload transcripts for show notes and stuff. And then I read it and I say, okay, it's a good idea. But then what I pretty much do is I go back and rewrite or reword exactly what I want to say, take stuff out, add stuff, and take it from there. It's AI stuff. I think has a very good purpose and very good use, but it doesn't substitute for everything. And that I think is a big problem.
Yeah. So I'm using it for a variety of different things.
Yeah.
I'm mainly using it for my emails. So when it comes to communications, that's what we're talking about. I'm a very direct person, very, very direct. I want to tell you how it is.
Right.
And then sometimes it's like, I want to get my message points across of my philosophy and my whys. Next thing you know, it's like a 3-page email to team members. So I'm using ChatGPT to condense the thoughts where they're clear, they're concise, and then kind of make it more of a softer approach, because I'm a very direct person. And there's a lot of people that cannot handle direct communication, or the way that it's phrased. It's like they take it so personal. And I'm like, I'm not meaning like
It's not
you're
personal.
doing a bad job. It's like, as a whole, this is what we could be doing. And,
Right.
so I'm using ChatGPT to help with my communication style, especially when emailing employees or counterparts that we're working together on partnerships and stuff. Are you looking to enhance your relationship with yourself? If so, get the Stroke It Guide. My book is available on Amazon and on my website. Not only is my book going to help you with your personal journey with yourself, but it's also going to help you with the relationships of other stakeholders in your life. For instance, your spouse or partner, your employer, your employees, your friends, or your family members. And of course, because the title, there is a chapter for your pleasure, which is the last one, in the bedroom. The book offers lots of great tools and resources. There's a lot of great downloads, and it features many of my podcast guests, and they have thousands of downloads and resources that are worth a lot of money. So you're going to want to get my book today. You can buy that on Amazon or on my website, and you can change and take ownership of your life today with one simple click.
Well, let me just tell you, there's a couple of books out there. They're both by Chris Fanning. The first one is The First Minute, and how important that first minute of communication is in business. And he followed it up, and I'm thinking of trying to think of the actual title of the book, but it's The First Minute in Writing Emails. It's how to write an email that gets things across, specific, direct, short, sweet, and to the point, and everybody knows what's going on. And again, I'm a pretty direct person too, and if you get an email from me that's more than 4 sentences, that means there's a problem, and I should have picked up the phone and called you. But there are some tools out there that can help with that, and I actually recommended those books are always on my recommended list. For students, the First Minute, and for whatever reason I can't remember the book. I'll see if I can find it quick.
Okay. So I know that you just brought up a point. I want to dive into it. So it's, instead of sending like a big email, it's just easier to pick up the phone and call. And I think at times, number one, the timing may not be right, or we don't have the confidence in picking up the phone, having that conversation,
Right.
because there may be conflict, or maybe it's like, here's the point I'm trying to make. I don't really care to have the dialogue. Here you go. So out of those things I mentioned, is there something that speaks to you that you'd like to address?
Yeah. So a couple of things. And number one, it may not be the right time to have a call, but at some point we have to learn how to have tough conversations. If it's a tough conversation, so if it's a clarifying conversation, you're not sure what to do, then maybe you take 2 or 3 minutes to have the call. But let's just take it from the person who's not interested in or doesn't know how to have a phone conversation. That's the tough part. Some of the biggest things that we have to get over is if we don't actually do the thing, we're never going to be good at the thing. And that goes for anything. That's a lot of things in there. But you have to actually start doing the thing. We all have a phone, except, if you're an 8-year-old and you got a phone, let's have a different conversation. But most adults have a phone, and we don't ever use it as a phone. We use it to text. We use it to play games. We go on Facebook and all these other things, but it's still a phone. Dial the number, have the conversation. Jenny, you've asked me to do this thing. I'm not exactly sure what it is that you want. Can you just clarify it for me real quick? Or, Jenny, I need to talk to you. I've messed this up. If you can't talk now, can we schedule time soon to talk about it? Because I need to clear the air. So there are those techniques, and it's much better to have tough and hard conversations over the phone, in person, what have you, than to try and get it all in an email where, like you said, so many things can be lost in translation. The attitude, the feelings, the tone, all those things can't come across unless you want to use emojis. And I don't know what half the emojis are even for.
Yeah, so that's where I have failed as a leader in the past as well. And part of that reason is I send a lot of emails because I'm also working at like 5 to 8 in the morning.
Right.
Is when I get a bulk of it. And then a lot of my team members work from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. So they don't actually get home until 9, go to bed till 10. And so there's a lot of times where I just throw it on an email, and then it's like, they're just like, I really wish we would have just had a conversation about this, right? Or I had an episode with my sister-in-law back in October where I felt strongly about something, and her mom was going to be going to a doctor's appointment in the morning, and I felt like I really needed to get this off my chest, and she really needed to hear this before she woke up, and so that she could make a decision to go to the doctor's appointment. So of course I sent this email, and it just really hurt her, and she was just like, it would have been just easier to have the conversation. So there's so many times where I've learned in the past 5 months, just pick up the phone and have the conversation. So it just can be challenging at times, and just
Yeah,
so I'm working on that.
I get it, and it is, and there's times I don't want to have the conversation either. But to me, it saves the time, it saves the anxiety, it saves the. I mean, for me to type out an email like that and to delete and spell check and make sure it gets right. Honey, can you read this for me? Is it really saying what I wanted to say? I don't want to have the conversation, but let's just if it can't be till 3 days from now, that's fine. But I'd rather just have the conversation. And I think young professionals could learn a lot from that, and don't avoid these things, because the more you have them, the easier they are to have, even if you don't want to have them.
Right. So I know that you talk a lot about confidence and you're talking about communication, but when you're stating that, like to have the conversation, you just need to do it and things like that, what kind of skills or tactics or things that could we do or other people could do to boost the confidence to where they can have a conversation?
So that's Jenny, that's a great question. And with technology, there are so many tools that are out there right now. ChatGPT, you can have a difficult conversation with ChatGPT. So in other words, what you can do is you can give it the prompts. Say, this is the person who I'm going to be talking to. This is the issue. These are the topics that this person may bring up. And then you can have a practice conversation, a real life practice conversation with ChatGPT, having that conversation. How crazy is that?
That's amazing. Well, you know what's so funny is one day I was working on a speech for something. And so I had typed in there, I lost my mother-in-law earlier this year. So I was working on like what I would be saying. And so I typed in everything I wanted to say and then ChatGPT comes back to me. She's like, oh, she seems like she was a lovely woman. And like it started to like it was like trying to comfort me, right? And I'm
Right.
like, no, I'm not needing you to comfort me, ChatGPT. I need you to help complete this speech for me. So
Right.
I do believe that you can probably have a test conversation with ChatGPT. So that's a really great point as well. Okay, so let's talk about the spouse, because I'm really interested in what you have to say about this topic and why you wanted to speak about it. And you had indicated, with work and with business, and at times you're her boss, she's your boss, and it can be difficult juggling all the different
It's hard. Well,
and the
I mean,
hats that you wear. So talk to us
yeah.
about how the relationship is and how you work through that with communication.
So we've been married, I don't know, a long time, almost 30 years. There's no scenario in my life that she's not there. And like I said, there's nothing that we do that we're not involved with in one way, shape, or matter or form. So even with podcasts and the business, I bring her in on decision making. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Like I had a call a couple nights ago. I was asking somebody for advice. I said, I need you to come in and ask some questions and see what you think. But anyway, so her job right now, she works for the Golf Week Amateur Tour, and she trains all of the tour directors. So in a sense, she's my boss. So, but I run the Atlanta tour, and when she helps me with that, I'm her boss. And there's that dynamic. And at the end of the day, remember, we still come home together. At the end of the day, we still have our relationship. At the end of the day, we're still bringing into the businesses our own personalities, our own personal ways of communicating. And in one sense, we've been together so long, it's very helpful. But in another sense, it's not helpful at all. It's the opposite of helpful because of how we approach things. Finding that way to interact, to get things done that need to get done, and go home and not have any arguments. It's hard. Marriage is hard anyway. And now you're introducing so many other hats into this that have to be changed really, really quick. And you just got to find at least for us, we've been together for so long. We find ways to just get over it, get over whatever's being said or done, and get on with what has to be done and dealing with things later.
My husband and I will have been married 12 years in May, and we've had our ups and downs and our challenges.
Yeah.
But the one thing that we struggle with is about communication. And, we can't read each other's mind, or how he says something, I'm interpreting in one way and
yeah.
just like not completing or not listening fully and all the things. And, creating space for conversation. So just like this morning, my husband's been going through some things and something's going on. I don't know what's going on, but I've asked him for safe space to have a conversation tomorrow. And his initial response is, oh, going to have to hear all the things you don't like or what I'm doing wrong and all this. And I'm like, no, I genuinely care about you and I feel something's going on. I want to find out what it is and I want to be solution driven. So just even that, creating that safe space for
Yeah.
communication to where you can solve some issues can still be a challenge as well. But I think it is hard for couples. I mean, even just communicating your needs to
Mhm.
your spouse or partner can be a challenge. And if you don't communicate your needs, how is your partner going to know that you're needing this or you're lacking connection and all those things? So give us some communication tips that you would recommend for anyone that's in a relationship that would want to enhance the relationship with their spouse.
I think the very first thing it would be something that you just said. If something has to be discussed, that you say, look, we need to set some time and have this discussion. It's important. It's not something that we can have as a quick flyby. Set time aside, put everything else off, and just be present in that conversation and be willing to listen, be willing to, like you said, be solution driven. And it doesn't have to be this isn't a blame game. This is not a you're doing this and you better stop doing that. This is just like you just said. These are some things. How can we get them fixed? You're showing these signs. How can I help you? You know whatever.
Right.
It's I think one of the biggest things that I've learned. I'm a lot like you. I'm very and here I go with a knife hand. I'm very direct. I've been called blunt. I've been called abrasive, and it may come across as that, but it's just that I'm direct. I don't have time to play games. I'm not a great wordsmith. Let's just get down to it, figure out whatever it is, address it, and move on. As especially in with couples or relationships, you have to be able to learn how your significant other communicates. It's not always about you and how you communicate. You have to learn how they communicate, when they communicate, and be open and accepting to that. That I think is so important. And one of the things that I've learned, make it more about them. Figure out who they are and how they're going about it and what their process is first.
Yeah, and I think the timing is really important.
Yeah.
So, like, when I had requested this with him earlier today, he was like, "Why can't we just talk about it now?" And I'm like, "Well, you got up at like 5 in the morning. You have a really stressful day. You already told me all these things that are on your to-do list. I've got a really stressful day. I have an event tonight as well. Like, neither one of us are going to be in the mindset
Right.
of openness and receiving, and where it's a very compassionate and loving conversation. It seems
Right.
like most of those conversations get sparked when you have a person that's really upset, or someone got
Yep.
pissed off, or someone's not doing their weight, and then it's like they lash out about everything, right? So
Right.
I think it's really important to create time and space for those conversations to where people feel validated, they feel
Yes.
heard, and they feel like you actually care for them and you're not
Right.
dismissing their feelings, which I think is important.
And be able to separate, the business side from the personal side. Because
Yeah.
that's a big concern, right? Because again, at the end of the day, you go home together. What's the most important thing? To me, at least for me, it's my relationship with my wife. It's my relationship with my family. I mean, the business stuff is going to be the business stuff. I mean, obviously we want it to work. We want it to be successful, but I'd much rather have a successful relationship with my wife. Much have a successful relationship with my family. That's, to me, is the number one priority.
Right. So let's talk a little bit. Let's take a minute or two to talk about how you're commingling the business and the home life and the communication and stuff. Because my husband and I have my company, and then he has his corporate gig, and then we have a company that we work together. And it can be really challenging because there's a lot of times that he ends up doing more for that company than I do, because based on his skill set and based on his abilities and a lot of different things. He just does way more, and I'm really grateful for it, and I really, really appreciate it. But then there's like that resentment and that, becoming upset. And then it's like, it's like, I think this is part of the issues that we're going to be talking about tomorrow.
Yeah.
But anyways, talk to us about how you're coaching individuals, or maybe how you and your wife commingle the business and the relationship as well.
Well, so again, that's a really good question. We just started a segment on the podcast where my wife and I are going to be interviewing couples that work together, and I'd love to have you guys on, and we'll talk about that, more. But let me just give you an example. So we're full-time RVers. We live in a 42-foot bus. We work together. We live together in a 42-foot bus. I told you, I live in Hilton, South Carolina. It's beautiful outside, but I'm never outside. I just can't do it. And I'm a full-time RVer. So I have an office. So I get up and I go to work.
I thought you were about to tell me that your office is in your RV.
Well, it was, Jenny. It was. We've got office space in there, and I do have a space there, but I very rarely work there because
You're
I can't.
able to get out of the
I have to
RV
get
in
out.
a way
Yes.
if you need
Yep.
to.
Yeah. So her
Okay.
primary workspace is in the RV, but she also works outside, and she can actually go outside and sit outside on the patio and work on the computer. She can go to the pool and work on and do those things. I just don't have that capacity. But I think that the biggest thing, that worked for us was having that little bit of separation. Um, I we do everything together. So we do everything together. So it's whatever time it is. I got into the office about 11 o'clock today, and I've spoken to her on the phone 7 times. Just check in. Hey, honey, just want to let you know, love you. What's going on? What are you doing? She texts me. It's whatever, but just those little check-ins. That's just our relationship. You know what?
Wow. That's amazing.
But I mean, I appreciate it. I really do. I think it comes from I've been married 30 years. It's hard. It's not always been great, but understanding as we've gotten older and some of the other struggles that we've had together, again, figuring out how the other one works and what's best for them, and giving them that space and giving them the opportunity to do and be who they are, that's going to make them the best. And then you're supporting them. And you talk about the resentment. I feel awful right now because right now she is pretty much taking care of everything at home. She's doing all the cooking, all the cleaning, plus she's her job, and she's a realtor. So she's doing a lot. I'm doing very, very little at home. And I feel bad because I'm spending so much time here and building the business. And just 2 days ago, she said, Tony, don't worry about it. You've done it for me. It's my turn. And I get it. And I really do appreciate it, but that doesn't mean that I still don't feel bad. But knowing that I can't do anything about it, she's very supportive of it. And it's that bad, figuring out what is best for the other person, and being there and giving them that best of you.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And it is a give and take.
It
It is
is.
a give and take in marriage.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're going to have this person that's really the breadwinner and leading this, and you're going to have the other one that's picking up all the pieces here, and then you're
Yep.
going to swap. And depending on what season, and that's why you guys
Yeah.
have been married for so many years. That's amazing. Congratulations. And
That's
you're a
it.
grandfather. Let's make sure we
And,
mention that again.
yeah, I'm a grandfather. I got 3 grandkids, and yeah, that's the best ever.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm really grateful that you joined me on the podcast today, and tell your wife she's doing an amazing job. And it's really important. So make sure you stroke her when you get home.
I will probably as soon as we get off. I'm going to give her a call and say I'm off now. So yeah.
That's awesome. So my husband and I'll typically leave for work, and then I'll call my husband like on the way home. Sometimes we'll text in between, like if we're having lunch or whatever. And so that's great that you guys talk that much. We definitely don't. So you're inspiring me to reach out a little bit more and make sure he knows that I'm thinking about him throughout the day. So as we wrap up with today's podcast, if there was something that you could say to our listeners, or an action item, or something that would change their life if they were to implement it tomorrow, what would be your advice for that?
Well, first thing would be, don't wait till tomorrow. Start today, and stop letting whatever fear it is, whatever it is, hold you back. And it's okay to ask for help. That's something that I've had to learn recently. I don't ask anybody for anything. And starting this business, I've had to ask people for help. Don't let the fear hold you back. And you're not a failure if you ask somebody for help. It's okay. People, if you reach out to them, people are so willing to help you. They are.
They really are. And some people want to feel needed, and they want to help you. They're just waiting for you to say, hey, can you help me with this? Because they see the potential in you. They want to see you succeed. They're just waiting for permission to give you feedback, to lean in, and to help you as well. And, I tell a lot of my moms that as well. I'm like, ask for help. It's okay. Like, it doesn't mean you're failing. It doesn't mean you're a bad mom. Like, you can't do all this on your own. I mean, I don't have children. I can't imagine. That's like the hardest job ever. But sometimes I think some of them have so much pride, and it's their ego, where it's like they have to do it all. And it's like, oh my God, let this guard down. Let us help you. Like,
Exactly.
I have a niece, and it's like, my sister-in-law was like, we can't go to town because we have no one to pick up our children. I'm like, hello.
Oh, I'm
I'm
here.
standing here. Your brother's standing here. Your parents are standing here. We're all waiting to help you. Like, allow us to help you. So I love that you're saying that as well. So
I think a lot of younger kids are so afraid to ask for it, and they don't know how to ask for it either.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you're listening, Tim and I want you to ask for help. We're all here to support you. Lean in. And it takes a village. It takes a team. Not one person can do everything on their own, as we all know. And if you're looking forward to connecting with Tim, he's going to tell us how to connect with him. We want to encourage you to download his podcast first and foremost. Tim, how do I get a hold of you?
The best way is at timnewmanspeaks.com. That's timnewmanspeaks.com. You go there, you could download my free ebook, 21 too many crickets, Tim.
21 challenges for public
21
speakers
challenges
and
for
how to
public speakers.
overcome. You
That's
got
Tim.
so
There we go.
emotional talking about
I
your
know.
wife.
I know. She's a saint. My wife is an absolute saint.
Oh, I could tell how much that you love her. And for those
Yep.
that don't know, he is getting emotional. He was talking about his wife and how much she's doing for him, and she's allowing him to follow his dreams. And as he said earlier, he's having the most fun he's had, and he's so passionate about the work. And to be able to have that is success. And that is amazing.
Absolutely.
And I'm so happy for you.
Jenny, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. So Tim Newman Speaks. You can go ahead and connect with him. I'm sure he's on all the socials. You can also go to the show notes as well. If you want to connect, we're going to have his information there. Once again, have no fear. Do what you want to do today. Don't wait till tomorrow. That is what Tim wants to encourage us all to do. He also wants to encourage us to become better communicators and boost our confidence as well. So thank you all for tuning in. Tim and I want to encourage you to give us a 5-star review and consider 5 people you can send this podcast to that you think would benefit from it. We want to encourage you to get outdoors as well. I know I'm going to be getting on the golf course very, very soon. Tim, don't forget, I'm going to call you if I come to your neck of the woods so I can go to the hospitality tents.
There you go.
And yeah, we want to wish everybody a wonderful day. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Thank you for tuning into the Stroke It podcast. I hope you were inspired. I hope you're willing and ready to take some action. I want to encourage you to consider 5 people that could benefit from today's podcast. Super simple to share this episode. You never know who could benefit from hearing this podcast and how you could inspire them to create the change in the life that they're wanting. Cheers, and thank you so much for tuning in. Also, consider giving a review.